Do armor and melee rolls make sense in patch 6.0.2? Well, they're going to make sense by the end of this video, or I'll eat this Noblar. And they taste really bad, so there. Without beating around the bush, here's how the armor formula probably works. N divided by 2 plus N divided by 2 times 1 to 100% equals percentage of base damage blocked. If you're coming from my splash video, I slipped at that last part, but I made a decision that the sources were getting blurry and inconsistent and my video was about the splash damage. I decided it was better to overshoot than risk undershooting. Well, I did overshoot, but I also think using 100 armor as the example, I know what you guys were reading because I read it 3 years ago, and there's a reason I'm not going to use it here for the most part. It's like a math dyslexia thing. So, let's go to a more concrete example. Empire Swordsmen! I keep coming back to them because they're so marvelously consistent, and at least for our demo videos, it's 30 armor, full stop. Let's plug that into our equation. 30 divided by 2 equals 15. 15 plus 15 times 1 to 100% equals 15 to 30% base damage blocked. Now, because 1% of 15 is a lot closer to 0 than 1, I'm assuming that's how the math actually works, so it's 15 to 30, especially because that number is a percent itself. That's important. But again, it was better to overshoot for the sake of argument over in that video. It's not okay here. We want to be crystal clear now. So let's proceed with more concrete examples, and this time we're moving on to attack rolls in Total War Warhammer. Actually, it changed going into Warhammer 2, so Old Man Battle got a few things wrong last time. If melee attack and melee defense are equal, the attacker has a 35% chance of hitting the defender and inflicting its damage. So let's mirror match this. Swordsman versus Swordsman. Melee attack 32 versus melee defense 32. I love these guys. They make the math of comparison so darn simple. So in this situation, with all the other things being equal, meaning things like fatigue levels, for instance, there is a 35% chance that each individual entity able to hit via its attack animation will actually hit. How much damage will that inflict? Well, the bog standard swordsman has 21 base damage and 7 armor piercing. We know armor piercing is quite literal. It ignores the armor value. So that's whatever plus 7. So let's use our previous formula. We're doing... Is it rounded up or down? I've seen what looked like rounding up in the past, but that's pure squishy brain observation. Anyway, 12.6 should round up, so it's 13 to 18 base damage, plus 7, so that's 20 to 25 damage per hit on these rival swordsmen. For reference, swordsmen have 69 hit points on all unit scales, just the number of entities per unit changes. It's 120 entities on Ultra. So, an average of 22.5 damage against 69 hit points, it's going to take an average of almost exactly 3 hits to 100% kill a single swordsman entity. If knocked down completely, there's no further damage until the entity gets up. That's common to all foot units. In my splash video, I saw units dead before they hit the ground when Vlad stomped them, but the number of entities wasn't updated until they would have gotten up were they not, dead. So let's use 2 other examples that are pretty normal. Skeleton Warriors and Crypt Ghouls. In the former case, these Skeleton Warriors have melee attack 18 trying to hit melee defense 32. So the difference between points, I mean literally the difference via subtraction, is the percentage differential. Therefore, 32 minus 18, a 35% differential, therefore the Skeleton Warriors have 21% chance to hit each swing. Now, there's 160 Skeleton Warriors on Ultra, but only some of them can actually swing at the swordsman at one time. In contrast, melee defense 22 means that the swordsmen have 45% to hit with each swing, a big difference in their favor. There's not a lot of difference in actual damage though. Base damage 20 and armor piercing 6 means that the skeletons will do 18 to 23 damage per hit that connects since they're hitting 30 armor. But the swordsmen aren't, they're hitting 20 armor. So that's between 10 and 20% base damage being blocked, which amounts to 2 to 4 points of base damage being blocked, which means 24 to 26 total damage is being inflicted. It's a subtle difference, but even 10 points of armor means it's an average of 25 being pumped into Skeleton Warriors rather than 22.5, and that's an average, so if it's 22 or 23, that's random number dependent. Skeleton Warriors has 61 health per entity just for reference. So now for the Crypt Ghouls. Just like swordsmen, crypt ghouls have 32 melee attack, so it's a perfect 35% chance to hit their opponents. Melee defense is 25, so the swordsman will have a 42% chance to hit them. Ghouls were upgraded to 30 armor, so all we're interested in is a vastly different weapon strength profile. Base damage of 32 is paired with armor piercing of 8. 8? Why are you 8? Aren't you... Flips through pages. Wait, see, I buffed you! It used to be 36 base damage. Oh, okay, that's for another video. Right now, let's go with the old figure, just because it's better for our math. So if it's 36 base against 30 armor, and again, that's the old patch, that's 15 plus 0 to 15% taken off. So with AP added, 26 at the bottom end, 35 at the top end for total damage. Thus, the Crypt Ghouls, which are only 120 entities, have a remote chance of 2-clawing swordsmen. Either way, it's a ton more than the 20.5 average damage the Skeleton Warriors were doing to the swordsmen. Obviously, the new numbers will be a lot more consistent in the Ghouls' favor. Gone are the days when the Skeletons were actually better against dwarfs wearing armor, if they hit, of course. So, to keep score, Swordsman versus Swordsman, a 35 to hit, 22.5 average damage. Skelly Warriors versus Swordsman, 21% to hit, 20.5 average damage. Crypt Ghouls 5.3 versus Swordsman, a 35 to hit, 30.5 average damage. This is exactly how the units were playing out in reality as of patch 5.3, moderated by the increased entity count of the Skeleton Warriors slightly. So what about the far extremes of this system? Well, here's the long and short of it. Maximum percent to hit, 90%. Minimum percent to hit, 8%. So let's take zombies. Zombies come standard with melee attack 5. Against Empire Swordsmen, that means they'll have 40% minus a difference of 27, meaning zombies have the minimum 8% to hit Empire Swordsmen. That's not a lot, but even if the Swordsmen were heavily buffed and had a melee defense of 44 from veterancy and lore bonuses, the zombies would have no worse than an 8% chance to hit. Cue the meme of enough monkeys combined with enough typewriters, and we get Shakespearean plays. Now, some spoil sport recently applied math to this to explain, no, this isn't going to happen. I'm sure largely because British English is complete bollocks, and it's filled with things that make no bloody sense whatsoever, defying any rational expectation pure randomness would arrive at on such a cacophony of... ahem. You get the idea. But enough zombies wailing on swordsmen for long enough, and yes, some will hit. Since the reduction is a percentage, they'll hit for 10.8 plus 2 equals 13 rounded up damage, to 15.3 plus 2 rounded down equals 17. So an average of 15 total damage. Yes, it'll take 5 hits on average for a zombie to kill a swordsman, but that's absolutely possible for them to do just from sheer stubbornness. More armor for the swordsman will absolutely help them avoid this. During this time, the atrocious melee defense of 6 will help the swordsman clear out the zombies efficiently. It'll just take a while. The zombies have no armor at all. Unless they're the type, of course. Now, if a Blood Dragon Lord with 20 bonus versus infantry walks into a dark alley with a unit of swordsmen against him, he's getting base 70 melee attack, plus his 20 versus infantry, plus his frenzy for 10 more, which means melee attack of 100 versus their melee defense of 32. But beyond 50 points above the melee defense, as in beyond 82 in this instance, all of the points of melee attack are surplus. There's no point in casting Danse Macabre on the Blood Dragon Lord, it literally will not help. And he'll whiff 10% of the time just because of the games played upon us by the gods of chance. So below a 24-point deficit, it can't go below 8% chance to hit any further. And above a 50-point advantage, it won't help any further, unless of course things are not equal, and there's a debuff on the attacking Lord, even from just fatigue. And even then it might not be worth it in terms of opportunity cost. What unit could use a Danse Macabre that isn't getting it because you wanted to go from 86% chance to hit to 90%? That's enough for one video. I hope you've learned something, I hope my double checking the math actually worked, and I'm at peace with you correcting me where I messed up. That's okay. I'm already feeling better at having done and rechecked a bunch of things, but like I said, Skellies outdone by swordsmen, outdone by crypt horrors, that absolutely is what happens in the real game. Take care, and have fun when I deliver an update video for Crypt Ghouls, which are, really legit now.